Here are today's top stories. President Duterte signs the Universal Healthcare Bill and the expanded maternity leave law. The Philippine government vows to help Filipinos facing deportation in Israel. 60 former supporters of the CPP-NPA return to the government side. And the PNP investigates the source of the blocks of cocaine found in the coastal areas in the country.
Good day, I'm Rom Dulfo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. President Duterte has signed a landmark measure that will give healthcare coverage, including medicine and treatment, to all Filipinos. The President has also signed a law extending maternity leave. More on this from Janice Cave.
President Rodrigo Duterte signed today the expanded maternity bill. The new measure provides a 105-day paid maternity leave plus 30 days unpaid leave for mothers in the government and private sector, with 7 days transferable to fathers. Solo mothers will receive an additional 15 days worth of leave. The new law follows yesterday's enactment of the Universal Healthcare Act, which will automatically enroll all Filipinos under the government's health insurance program. In a ceremony at the Rizal Hall in Malacanang Palace, the President said the new law will surely make a positive impact in the lives of the people.
Two of these legislative measures will improve our existing health care and pension services, which will benefit the poor and the vulnerable, always. The reason: by automatically extolling our citizens into the National Health Insurance Program and expanding health coverage to include free medical consultations and laboratory tests. The Universal Healthcare Law that I signed today will guarantee equitable access to quality and affordable healthcare services for all Filipinos.
The World Health Organization welcomed the signing of the UHC Act, describing it as a critical step towards health for all Filipinos. Lawmakers at the House of Representatives called the enactment of the UHC law by President Duterte a historic and a priceless gift to all. Kabayan Party List Representative Ron Salos said the new law would ensure that Filipino families would take their sick members to the hospital instead of resorting to self-medication due to lack of money. Akbayan Party List Representative Tom Villarin, one of the principal authors of the measure at the House of Representatives, says they are now looking forward to the full implementation of the newly signed law. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
President Duterte has created a task force to speed up the rehabilitation of Manila Bay. The President signed Admin Order Number 16, creating a task force that will ensure the complete rehabilitation, restoration, and conservation of the Manila Bay. The task force will be headed by Environment Secretary Roy Simatu, with Interior Secretary Eduardo Año and Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat as vice chairpersons. The task force will require establishments to connect existing sewerage lines to available sewerage systems or treatment plants. It must also undertake remedial measures to improve the water quality of Manila Bay, as well as work on the massive relocation of informal settler families. The chief negotiator of the CPP-NPA (NDF) has returned to the country in a bid for a possible resumption of peace talks with the government. Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana reveals Chief Negotiator Fidel Agcawili has been in the country since last week. He says President Duterte himself ordered the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, and the Philippine National Police to allow Agcawili's entry into the country in a move to resume peace talks. Lorenzana reiterates peace talks may resume if the communist group will stop strengthening its forces and call off its attacks and extortion activities. Fugitive alleged drug lord Peter Lim is still active in his illegal transactions despite being in hiding. In an interview with reporters at the ceremonial signing of the new landmark laws he signed on Wednesday, the president expressed belief that Lim is still active in illegal activities, but said he is uncertain whether the fugitive is in or out of the country. Lim was charged with 2 counts of conspiracy to commit illegal drug trade. He was tagged as the source of shabu being sold by the Espinosa Group. Lim's whereabouts remain unknown. The PNP challenges narco-politicians to reveal themselves, and President Duterte orders BFAR to look for land that can be distributed to beneficiaries. More on these and other news around the metro from Miguel Hill.
The Philippine National Police has challenged narco-politicians to surrender. According to PNP Chief Oscar Albayalde, they will wait for President Rodrigo Duterte's decision regarding the release of the narco list so that voters may choose their candidates wisely. They will also initiate the case build-up against personalities involved in illegal drugs. Meanwhile, President Duterte has ordered the Department of Agrarian Reform to identify agricultural land that may be distributed to beneficiaries. Executive Order Number 75 seeks to increase the land that beneficiaries may receive. Among the possible lands that may be distributed are those that DAR is no longer using. In other news, 60 supporters of the CPP-NPA in Cuartero Capiz withdrew their support for the terrorist group and swore allegiance to the government. The former rebel supporters took their oath before the Philippine Army's 61st Infantry Battalion Community Support Program. 37 of the surrenderers will be enrolled in the Enhanced Comprehensive Local Integration Program, while the rest will be referred to the government agencies that would help them lead normal lives. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Miguel Hill.
Still to come, the Philippine government vows to help Filipinos facing deportation in Israel. The fishing season for sardines, herring, and mackerel reopens at the Visayan Sea. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Ito ang Duterte on Duty. Ulat sa ginagawa ng Presidente. February 8, Biyernes, Albay. Panauhing pandangal si Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte sa Peace and Order Summit for Barangay Officials na dinaluhan na mahigit 2,000 barangay officials, governors at mga mayor mula sa 6 na probinsya ng Bicol Region.
Any politician, whether for or against me or my administration, are bound by the same limitations of law. That is the Alunan Doctrine which I am adopting because it is good for the country.
February 9, Sabado, Davao City. Nag-courtesy call kay Pangulong Duterte si Japanese Foreign Minister Taro Kono na may 3-day official visit sa Pilipinas. February 11, Lunes. Ipinamahagi ng Pangulo sa mga magsasaka ng Maguindanao ang 834 Certificate of Land Ownership Award na katumbas ng halos 200 ektaryang lupa.
Sabi ko nga kay Secretary Castriciones, ibigay mo na lahat yan sa panahon ko. Lahat ng lupa ng gobyerno. Wala namang nakikialam dyan. Pati bukid, ibigay mo na, ititulo mo. Para mataniman at maging progresibo.
February 13, Miyerkules. Pinangunahan ni Pangulong Duterte ang inaugurasyon ng Moscati Meadows Residential Treatment Facility, isang drug addiction treatment center.
This 1-hectare residential addiction treatment center, which targets to accommodate up to 50 patients who will undergo a 6-month holistic rehabilitation program, is truly in line with this administration's efforts to combat the drug menace that has plagued our society for so long.
Ako po si Secretary Martin Andanar. At ito ang Duterte on Duty. Abangan sa susunod na linggo ang mga gagawin ng Pangulo.
The Philippine government has vowed to assist all Filipinos who will be repatriated for overstaying in Israel. Report says the Filipino nationals are set for deportation in July or August this year. Foreign Affairs Undersecretary Sara Lu Ariola says the agency is ready to provide reintegration assistance to all Filipinos, including children who were arrested and facing deportation. The Philippine Embassy in Tel Aviv is also coordinating with the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration for additional welfare and reintegration assistance. Meantime, Foreign Affairs Assistant Secretary Leslie Baha has raised the issue with Israel Ministry of Foreign Affairs at the sidelines of the annual bilateral consultations between the two nations. She says Filipino workers have a responsibility to observe the immigration laws of the host government. Some major players in the country's banking industry have pledged to finance agriculture projects. Ambassador Alfredo Yao of the Zesto Group and the Philippine Business Bank led the signing of the pledge to support projects that are certified Agri-Agra projects compliant. Under the Agri-Agra law, all banks are required to allocate 25% of their loan funds for agriculture, fisheries, and agrarian projects. Agriculture Secretary Manny Piño says among the projects that the bankers could finance are the solar-powered irrigation projects, the farm mechanization program, and even the completion of the farm-to-market road network. The DENR in Central Visayas will hold a simultaneous river cleanup activity on Friday in different parts of the region. The program aims to raise awareness on the need to protect and sustainably manage the rivers and riverside communities. The activity is in line with the Rivers for Life program of the DENR. The simultaneous cleanup will be held in Cebu, Bohol, Negros Oriental, and Siquijor. The DENR has also ordered the non-disposal of any waste on rivers in the whole Central Visayas. The Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources declared the start of the fishing season at the Visayan Sea. Catching, trading, selling, and marketing of sardines, herring, and mackerel in the Visayas Sea is now allowed following the end of the 3-month closed season last Monday. However, BFAR Western Visayas warns that there are still plenty of juveniles in the catch composition of fisherfolk. It says a possible remedy is to prohibit the catching of juveniles at least 2 months after the closed season. Visayan Sea covers 5 provinces and 33 coastal towns from regions 5, 6, and 7. 5 persons die in a forest fire in Benguet. Meanwhile, Davao Police seized 6.7 million pesos worth of fake cigarettes. More on these and other stories from the provinces from Janice Cave.
In Itogon, Benguet, 5 persons died in a forest fire that broke past noon Wednesday in Barangay Ampucao. Philex Mining Corporation Benguet says 3 of those who died are their employees, and the affected area was part of the forestry site of the company. According to Mayor Victorio Palangdan, early responders made fire breaks to prevent it from reaching Sitio Banawel, a residential area. In Holosulu, authorities already identified the 2 bombers through DNA testing as a male and a female. PNP Chief Oscar Albayalde says they are now looking for the supposed offspring of the bombers to identify the suspects and prevent a child from growing up as a terrorist. Meanwhile, Indonesian police experts previously involved in the Bali bombing have lent their help in investigating the explosion at the Holo Cathedral. In Davao City, the PNP CIDG confiscated 6.7 million pesos worth of fake cigarettes from 2 warehouses owned by a Chinese national. The seizure was done based on a complaint by Philip Morris and Fortune Tobacco. The owner, identified as Leo Lee C., will face charges of economic sabotage and violation of intellectual property rights. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Up next, the PNP investigates the source of the blocks of cocaine found in coastal areas in the country. Former members of the Mountie Group reveal their reasons for returning to the government's fold. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
The Press Freedom Caravan and Truth Caravan aims to promote awareness and understanding on the initiatives of the Philippine government, such as the FOI, or Freedom of Information
We know that here in Europe, you already have a lot of freedom of information or access to information laws. We're very happy to report to you that in the Philippines, we do have an active freedom of information program. So the basis is our constitution. It's in our Bill of Rights that every citizen has a right to access information.
Because in December, it was reported that the Philippines had finally been delisted from the list of the 5 most dangerous countries for journalists in the world. And that report came from Reporters Without Borders.
And I was very impressed of what I hear today. I know that a lot of miscommunication is going on in Europe, and when I talk to Belgians, they are really misinformed about a lot of things. And when I explain them then what is really going on, then they're surprised.
The PNP is investigating the possible sources of the blocks of cocaine that have been recovered in coastal areas in the past several days. PNP spokesman Bernard Banac says they are looking into the involvement of international syndicates based in Mexico, Colombia, China, and other countries. He says Filipino middlemen may also be using the country's seas as their transshipment point. Authorities recovered yet another block of cocaine, this time in Barangay Villamanzano Norte in Perez, Quezon. Nearly 1 billion peso worth of cocaine have been retrieved so far in Quezon, Camarines Norte, Siargao, and Dinagat Islands. The UK has revoked the citizenship of a Muslim London teenager who have joined the Islamic State or ISIS as a bride. The UK Home Office announced that it cancelled the citizenship of a 19-year-old Shamima Begum for being a dual British-Bangladeshi national. The lawyer of Begum's family plans to challenge the Home Office's decision. Begum ran away from UK with her friends Amira Abbaze and Khadija Sultana in 2015 to join ISIS in Syria. The ISIS bride is now appealing for the opportunity to be able to return to Britain, although she said she had no regrets in supporting the terrorists. The UK has been able to stop over 100 suspected returning militants and their families from entering the country. The Philippines' last dash to the first ever Olympic 3-on-3 basketball event got a huge boost as it hosts the FIBA 3-on-3 Asia Pacific Super Quest. The Super Quest will be the biggest half-court cage fest that the country will host since the FIBA 3-on-3 World Cup last year. The Super Quest will pit 2 Philippine teams against some of the best 3-on-3 teams in the world. The games are likely to be held in April, right after the Chooks to Go 3-on-3 President's Cup. The top 2 teams after the grand finals of the ongoing President's Cup will qualify for the Super Quest, a qualifying tournament for the FIBA 3-on-3 World Tour. Teams with better rankings in the Super Quest and the World Tour will give the Philippines better chances to make it to the Olympics 3-on-3 event in Tokyo, Japan next year. Several members of the Maute group have left their fellow terrorists and joined the government's side. They said the ideals of the Maute are nothing like those they hope to learn as citizens and practitioners of Islam. PIA's Suit Lukman has a story.
3 former members of the Islamic State-linked Maute group have disclosed their sad experiences at the height of the Marawi siege, which led them to surrender. In an interview with the Philippine Information Agency, a 28-year-old commerce graduate said he joined the group since it is going to establish a sinless Islamic community, which is an ideal one. He easily bought the idea as he lacked knowledge about Islam religion. Not long after, he discovered and learned the real motive of the group.
Siguro at first it is because of the way how they have taught us of their ideology. At first it was very calm. They did not show me what was their true motive. So I was able to be convinced Kasi, kumbaga, siguro dahil din sa ignorante ko sa relihiyon, konti lang yung alam ko, they were able to use that as a advantage to convince me to join their group. Their motive was just to establish an Islamic community, a sinless community. That was their first objective, and yun yung kino-convince nila sa amin at first. Later on, I found out as time goes by, I was able to see kung ano ba talaga yung mga totoong agenda nila. I could say not for the religion's sake, but for them to have power over the people. Na-realize ko na, kumbaga, mali na talaga yung ginagawa nila. It is way beyond what they are teaching. When I realized na mali ako, that I became a victim of this radical ideology, I parted away from the group.
The other two were farmers who were recruited to join the group for certain compensation. They were promised to receive 18 to 20,000 pesos a month.
May ginagawa kami noon tapos dumating sila. Sabi ko, kung dito tayo sumali, ito ba yung totoo na grupo na magpapatupad ng batas ng Islam? Sabi nila, oo, kasi ito, hindi ito kumukuha ng anumang suhol o kahit ano, pinaglalaban lang daw yung totoong Islam. Kami naman, kunti lang yung pinag-aralan namin. Mabilis kami maniwala doon. Saka siyempre rin, dahil di sa kahirapan ng buhay. Hindi pala totoo yung sinasabi nila na ipaglaban namin yung paniniwala namin. Siyempre, nung umpisa, hindi namin naisip na magsisi o umuwi. Gumawa kami ng paraan kung paano kami makalabas.
In a related development, Captain Ron Villarosa of the Public Affairs Office of the 103rd Brigade said the government continues to provide various programs and services to prevent people from joining any unscrupulous groups. He also revealed that the government is always open for any rebel who wants to return to folds of the law. For PNA Newsroom, Sweet Lukman, Philippine Information Agency.
Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Here's another look at today's top stories.
President Duterte signs the Universal Healthcare Bill and the expanded maternity leave law. The Philippine government vows to help Filipinos facing deportation in Israel. 60 former supporters of the CPP-NPA return to the government side. And the PNP investigates the source of the blocks of cocaine found in the coastal areas in the country.
Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter. For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all our social media platforms and websites. And that's your daily dose of the latest news and information that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I'm Rom Dulfo. Good day.